But now I think we're going to take a attempt at writing an article live so you can see some of the steps of my process and hopefully be encouraged because it never gets easier. It never gets easier, but it can be fun. So we're gonna try and keep it fun. And let's move on. Which layout do I need? Oh, so now commences our live writing. And so, again, one of my tips is to be topical with things that are going on in Neopia right now. Um, right now, it is the Festival of Negs. And so I'm going to write an article that is relevant to that topic. So, another idea I have, and this kind of goes into the make sure you have a clear voice type of idea, is that this article will be written by Umbra Pen. So, who is also kind of a very current character and popular character in Neopia. Oops. So this is going to be Umbra Pen's Guide to Painted Nags. By Punchback Tyler. Okay, let's make this bigger. And this is going to be a list style article. And my concept is maybe I will write the intro first. So, Umbra is gray, gray and depressed. So, I am going to include a lot of sounds of a despondent person in this to really bring out that voice. So, sigh. It's that time of year again. The festival of Nags is is upon us. Sorry, is upon us. I'm sorry for sounding so despondent. I'm excited. I truly am. But being gray, that means that I can't help but groan every now and again. Now I want them to introduce themselves to the reader by saying their name. Because while we know that this is Umbra Pen, the reader does not yet know except for the title. Sigh, it's that time of year again. I also say just like write it out. Don't care if you think that it's bad. Don't focus on rereading it too much, except for if you kind of get lost. And you will see how to improve it only by writing more. But being gray means that I can't help but groan every now and again. Not many people know that I, Umbra Pen, the renowned Neopia's renowned artist. This sounds a little too proud, but I need to get it out of my head. That umber pen, Neopia's renowned artist and owner of the styling studio. Okay, maybe I say something. Well, today, these days, it seems like everybody knows my name. Umbra. I hear Neopians call out while I try to run my errands and manage my Sunday scaries around Neopia Central before they ask me which collection of nostalgic styles I'm working on next. Introduces Umbra without being too on the nose. While these days I am gainfully and gratefully busy, well, employed at the styling studio, my first job as an artist was actually with Kari, designing colorful painting. Okay, I'd say painting colorful negs for the Neggery, Negfest, and more. Sigh. Those really were the days. I switched. Let me tell you why I did that. I want to say sigh. I don't want to repeat myself. And yeah, sometimes to kind of make these sounds more noticeable, I'll italicize them. Those really were the days. I'd really say that they built. I really credit that job with giving me my legs, my first legs as an artist. Sometimes I reminisce and jot down okay, so sometimes on my dreariest of days, I like to reminisce and jot down some of the inspiration behind some of my favorite designs in my journal. If you're interested in what inspired me to create sorry, my roommate needs to shower, and I was like, he's gonna play music that'll be copyright. So those really were the days. I quit that job with giving my first legs as an artist. Sometimes on the dreariest days, I like to reminisce and jot down some of my favorite designs in my journal. If you're interested in what inspired me to create some of these decorative negs, please feel free to peruse the thoughts below. We will revise that, but I guess the idea is that Umbra, the story that we're telling is that Umbra, who's maybe Neopia's most famous painter right now, they got their first painting job painting negs for Kari for events like the Festival of Nags, and we are going to walk the readers through some colorful nags and share little anecdotes as to why they are special to Umbra. So, again, this will be kind of a list style article with this intro. We need to get to 1,000 words. Um, I see some people do lists and they'll do like one sentence for each item and they'll make a list of like 67 items. I like to include more substantial anecdotes in between, um, for each item. So we'll probably have maybe 7 items, I think. We'll make a list of maybe 8 and see what we get. So in this other tab, I go to the Jelly Neo item database where I have searched neg. Maybe I can search if it's also food. No. No. Okay. And we're going to go and pick some neg designs. So there is this aqua neg. Okay, I immediately have an idea for this battle duck neg. Umbra supposedly is the cousin of Tavi, who is the Lutari from Tales of Decardia. So I'm thinking that when they were younger, they would chase each other with these battle duck negs. And so I'm going to include this one. This might even be the first one. Okay. Okay, the blooming ivy Eastern egg could work. Blue and red checkered. I think there is one egg we can do where we could say this was my impression. We can make an impressionism joke, but we can only do that once. So let's just go through blue paisley, blue wave, boiled striped. brightly colored Eastern egg. We can make a gray joke there. I'm trying to think, like, can I tell an anecdote? Candy neg, candy cane neg, Captain Three Legs. Captain Three Legs is the person from. Okay, maybe. Chalkboard. This could work. I'm hesitant, but I feel like I could come up with something. Christmas, maybe. Chocolate orange, chrysaberry, classic, cog Halloween, Colt Zan. That's a good one. Congratulations. Combo melon. Cracked magical, cracked cornu pepper, dancing daisy, track splash, decorated. Okay. Earthly magic. Fairy Easter. Okay, Fairy Queen. I could maybe come up with something. Here we go, actually. I can think of a story for that. Festival neg. Fish. Floral Garen. Gemstone. Genius. Ghost. Giant. Partially painted neg. I think the giant partially painted neg. That should be the last one. Okay, glitch. That was from last year. Glass neg, glittering. Grawl, Kino, Green Festival, Green Gem, Green Paisley, Green Zigzag, Gray Patterned, Decorative neg. Yeah, we can do that one. Umbra is gray. Okay. Happy neg would be pretty. We could switch this with the happy neg. Iskaneg, Illusorineg, Illusineg, Jazzy Easterneg, Jellyneg, Jeweled neg, Kaleidoneg. Oh. The Kaleidoneg could be the impressionistic one. Lady Blurg, perhaps. Oh god, those neg wearable items. Music, mystical, mystery island, nature, mosaic. Neg of marble, neg of purity, neg Sunday. Oh, these are tickets. Okay. Ornate purple, pastel, polka dot, orange, tribal, orange paisley, peach puh, pink, snow bunny, Eastern egg, power egg, Princess Amira Halloween egg, rippling colors neg. We can make that our impressionism one. Okay. And we can always just include a Colt Zan nag joke somewhere. So now the last thing I just want to see is Umbra. Are they cousins? Creative cousins. Okay. Okay. Perfect. So let's just reread what we wrote before to get a feel for the tone and the vibe. Well, it's that time of year again. The festival of Negs is upon us. I'm sorry for sounding so despondent. I'm excited. I truly am. Okay, the festival of Negs is upon us. While I might sound despondent, don't be mistaken. I'm excited. I truly am. Being, unfortunately, being gray means that I can't help but utter a groan every now and again. These days, it seems like everybody knows my name. Umbra. I hear Neopians call out while I try to errands and run errands, parentheses, and manage my Sunday scaries around Neopia Central. They're all so curious as to which new nostalgic styles I'm working on next. While these days I'm gainfully and gratefully employed at the styling studio, my first job as an artist was actually painting colorful negs for Kari. Was actually with Kari painting who commissioned colorful negs for her neggery, neg fest, and more. Sigh, those really were the days. I credit that job with giving me my first legs as an artist, sometimes on my dreariest of days. On my dreariest of days, of which there are many, I like to reminisce by jotting down some of my favorite neg designs in my journal. If you're at all interested in what inspired me to create these decorative negs, maybe I should capitalize neg everywhere. Oh, scaries. Thoughts below. Okay, cool. Oh, feel free to peruse my thoughts below. So number one is the battle duck neg. Many find it surprising that Lania and I are actually cousins. Yes, Lania, the lead architect spearheading the efforts to rebuild Descartes, it and I are blood relatives. Well, our family. And when we were younger, we were quite close. Quite close, period. I'll make this. You can't exclaim all the time. Although in Neopets' voice, you might. I love this. It's amazing. Those all end in exclamation mark. Yes, Selenia, the lead architect spearheading the efforts to rebuild Descartes, and I. We were actually quite close. When I say close, that doesn't necessarily mean that we got along. In fact, while we are both creative We're also both quite competitive. Hey, fellow Neopian. You're coming in the middle of this live Neopian Times demo, so fingers crossed we don't hit the block. Um, when I say close, that doesn't mean we've gone long. In fact, while we are both creative, we were also quite competitive. Most days we would chase each other around the yard with our battle ducks. I kind of want to say, like when kids play rough, but the inspiration for the battle duck nag comes from my youth, where I would often play fight with my cousin Lania, chasing each other with battle ducks in the front yard. What's that? You didn't know that Lania and I were cousins? Why, yes. Uh, the inspiration for the battle duck nag comes from my younger days. When I was a child, I would often chase my cousin Lania. We have a cat visitor. Ooh, my leg. My cousin Lania and with our battle ducks. What's that? You didn't know that Lania, the architect spearheading the rebuilding of Decardia, and I were cousins? You wouldn't be the first to be surprised. While we are both creative, we couldn't be any more different in terms of personality. Lania is bubbly and outgoing, and I am, well, I am me. Just to be clear, these play fights that we had with our battle ducks when we were younger weren't all fun and games. Because Lania and I didn't really get along. However, now that I am older and more mature, I can't help but look at those days with longing. The battle duck neg is a tribute to those days. Something like that. Oops. Oh, wait, that should be. Okay. Happy nag. Dexter, we got a Dexter. Okay, so the happy nag. We're going to make a joke about Gray. Has anyone ever told you to turn that frown upside down? Needless to say, being the color gray, I was told that endless times. I get told that endlessly. Needless to say, being the color gray, I'm given that piece of advice on the daily. Unfortunately, when I was younger, I believed it. The reason I thought that the reason I was so gray was because of my. Unfortunately, when I was younger, okay, maybe that's a little too deep. I took this piece of advice a bit too seriously. I would wear bright yellow overalls and adorn my walls with smiley faces, all in an effort to evoke a feeling of cheeriness. I would wear bright yellow overalls adorned with a large smiley face, all in an effort to appear more bright and cheery to others. However, as I grew older, I came to accept my gray demeanor a bit more. The happy nag is while I may be gray on the outside, the happy nag is a symbol of the joy that I hope my art brings to others. Something like that. I think I might need another sentence there. So what are we doing on word count? These are a little bit smaller paragraphs than I would normally write, so we may need to get to 10. Oh, wow. No, we're almost halfway done. Okay. So I have an idea for the Fairy Queen nag. Another gig in my early career was painting portraits on commission. I was lucky enough to paint King Coltsan's portrait before he passed, as well as Garin, the great adventurer of the Moroccan seas, something like that. Some sort of word portrait, the scariest or the most intense portrait I ever painted was of the fairy queen herself, Queen Fiora. In fact, I was so when paying a visit to her to the hidden tower for the portrait sitting, um, I was so nervous that my hands trembled and my paintbrush kept slipping out of my hands. Thankfully, Fiora loved the portrait and actually requested that I use it as inspiration for one of the nags for the Festival of Nags that year. so that each Neopian may be reminded of her beauty or glory. I roll. While the request may have been guided by a hint of narcissism, the Fiora Queen Neg reminds me, may have been guided by that I want to say it kind of boosts their confidence. So gives me a boost of confidence whenever I'm feeling creatively challenged. Something like that. Format. Let's check our word count. 585. Okay. So the chalkboard neg. One, you might find this surprising, but I wasn't the best in school. Sigh. Instead of taking notes, I would doodle all over my journal. All over my journal and in the margins of my book. After flunking a few spelling quizzes, my teacher spoke to me after class. I remember being terrified. However, I was surprised when Miss we gotta come up with a generic teacher name. Walden surprised when, instead of lecturing me about my test scores, Miss Walden instead offered to have me create a unique doodle on the chalkboard before lessons started every day. Yes, the chalkboard on the the chalkboard, I was able to let my spirit sing. And lo and behold, I was much better about paying attention after that. The chalkboard neg is my effort at creating an outlet for young, creative Neopians like myself to find, I'm going to say like their stride, but I think I'm going to change that. Ooh. Wow, that is zoomed in. Well, maybe not the worst. Where are we at? Tools, word count. 708. So we're like 3/4 of the way there. And we've done 4 of them. Yeah, I think 7 is exactly the right amount. Oops. So now that we spoke about coltan, I don't think that this will come up again. Gray patterned decorative neg. It always bugs me when people hate on the color gray. They say things like, gray is always so drab. Or I think there's something I could do that rhymes that would be funny. We could go to rhyme zone. Let me see if I have a tab. Day, shay, fray, jay. If it's gray, send it away. Oh, if it's gray, give it away. If it's gray, give it away. In my opinion, there is so much beauty in being, Beijing, being gray. Okay, beauty in the color. In the color. That's why when I created the gray patterned decorative neg, I sought to capture that beauty and how it weaves seamlessly within the intricate patterns of life. Neg, the gray pattern decorative neg. That's a tongue twister. It always bugs when people hate on the color gray. They say things like gray is always so drab, or if it's gray, give it away. In my opinion, there's so much beauty in the color. That's why when I created the gray pattern decorative neg, I sought to capture that beauty and how it weaves seamlessly within the intricate patterns of life. The gray patterned neg includes a lattice like pattern of grays, greens, reds, and blues to evoke that idea. This one I'm a little bit blocked on, so I'm just going to put a closing line. This is the weakest paragraph, but you got to have some of those sometimes. Good thing it's the fifth one. Okay, rippling colors neg. While these days I might be known more for my portrait work, I briefly had a period where I thought I was going to be an impressionist painter, where I leaned heavily into impressionism. Yes, the abstract and the metaphysical rather than defined realism used to make my heart sing. While there are many fascinating designs I came up with during this period, none make my heart sing more than the rippling colors neg. In fact, the inspiration for this neg came from watching light bounce off of the rainbow pool in Neopia Central on a partially overcast day. Don't you see it? On second thought, don't answer that question. There we go. Where are we at? Well, it's like writing an it's like in school when you are trying to get to the word count. 902. Okay, so we just need to write this last one and maybe an outro. So giant partially painted nag. If you've have you seen the giant partially painted nag around your Neo home neighborhood? Welp. Well, the artist who you can thank for that unfinished monstrosity is myself. Yes, I am not proud of it, but have you seen the giant partially painted neg around your Neo home neighborhood? Well, the artist who you can thank for that unfinished monstrosity is myself. Yes, I'm not proud of it, but that neg was that project was a freelance assignment of mine from years ago. I received a mysterious telegram from the Virtue Pets space station requesting the need to decorate the hugest and greatest neg in Neopia. It seemed overly ambitious of an assignment to me, but when you're a working artist like me, money, Neopoints are hard to come by. I worked on that assignment for months, but eventually, I think what I'm trying to say is like it was like a Dr. Sloth project. But when the first check came in and it was signed by Dr. Sloth, I had to call it quits. There was no way in Neopia that I was going to work for an evil scientist. like him. This one feels weird, but there's definitely going to be a revision I'm going to be doing in a few days when I just let this sit. But I think we've reached. Okay, we've reached the 1,000 word count. So we're basically in bonus time. I'm going to write some sort of short outro. Well, did you find that interesting? I hope you did. As an artist, we can take inspiration from all kinds of things. Our memories, the world around us, and even other artists. This year, while you're out hunting for nags during the Festival of Nags, you too can appreciate Yeah, it was a little too lectury at the end. Hunting. Each year, while I'm out hunting for Kari's nags, hunting for Kari's nags warms my heart, offering me a delightful trip down memory lane. And my early years as a full time artist. Until next time, Umber Pen. Oops. Oh, okay. Okay, so hey, we got words on the paper. We have something with which to work at. I would never submit a first draft to anything, but we have all the ideas here. What I am going to do now is I am going to sit on this for like 24 hours or 48 hours of just absolutely not looking at it. And edit it again and make it a little bit more cohesive, which shouldn't take more than maybe 30 minutes. Maybe that will be a video in itself that you can check out later. In terms of submitting, let me see. So if you want to submit your piece to the Neopian Times, you should go to the Neopian Times itself, and at the bottom there will be this submission form. So in this case, it will be an article. I'll click here. I'll type in the name, paste your article. You could add any comments below. So if you collaborate with someone, for example, you can include your collaboration information. Maybe you want to embed a link, or if you want to ask a question to the editor, you can include this link, etc. You can do that there and click submit. But I think that gives you an overview on why you should submit for the Neopian Times, what you should think about when you're making this type of goal and choosing the type of content that you're creating. And hopefully this live demonstration of writing an article makes it a little less intimidating to begin to create. It's not some genius process. There are a lot of hurdles. Sometimes what you're writing might feel so stupid, but I'd say just plow through and get everything on so that way you can tie everything together up later. So until next time, this has been your guide to, let's get the first slide up, the Neopian Times. Peace.